Good morning. May peace be upon you. It is me, Professor Shukr again. I'm nowadays teaching you about research. So today's topic is difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Well, in our previous two lessons, we explored two important building blocks of research writing. One is the IMRAD structure, where we learned how to organize a research paper using introduction, method, result, and discussion. The second building block of research writing which we discussed was understanding research paper headings, where we broke down each section, purpose, meaning, and how and what to write them effectively. Today we are moving on one step further and we will explore the main differences between qualitative and quantitative research, two primary ways researchers gather and interpret data. Sorry. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify whether a study is qualitative or quantitative, understand when to use each method, and common mistakes that students often make when choosing the right method. So let's talk about differences. Now, if we talk about qualitative research, we are talking about a quality. We are not talking about numbers. Research that explores behaviors, experiences, or feeling using non-numerical data. The important thing is, in this method, the data is non-numerical. By numerical means numbers. So therefore, the data would be in the form of words, sentences, interviews, and observations. Research that employs words and stories to understand by exploring feelings or opinions is the qualitative research. For example, asking why someone likes teaching Mr. Irfan, or why I like making these lessons. What do students feel? What are they useful to them or not? In research, it is employed to understand their opinions, feeling, and behavior. Now coming to quantitative research. Research that quantifies, and you can only quantify something in numbers. Research that quantifies and examines numerical data to identify patterns or test hypotheses. It utilizes numbers to gain understanding. It involves understanding of quantities or amounts. For example, counting how many, such as a number of lectures taken by Mr. Irfan. What is the duration of lectures of different faculty members? It is used to measure the amount, number, or frequency of something happening. Now, if we use the same variable can be used to do either a qualitative or quantitative research also many times. So let me explain you. A variable is something which can change and which you can measure. Now let us say the variable we choose is satisfaction with the new learning method. We want to do a research in education, and the variable we choose is satisfaction with the new learning method. A qualitative research would be something like students articulate their feelings. For example, found teaching by Mr. Irfan to be engaging or fun. The same, if we want to have measure the variable satisfaction with the new learning method, the quantitative research could be students rate their satisfaction with the teaching of Mr. Irfan on a scale of 1:10. Now 1:10 is measurable. It is numerical. Articulate the feeling. So feeling are being measured, but not numerically. Let me take another variable, blood pressure in clinical medical sciences studies. For example, a qualitative research in which the variable is blood pressure could be patient describe how they feel at different blood pressure levels. For example, they may describe dizzy, they may describe normal, they may describe tired. Now these are not numbers, these are words. That is why it is qualitative research. In quantitative, blood pressure expressed as number. For example, 130 to 85 millimeter of mercury. For example, what is the blood pressure of the students who are listening this video at this time? If you take the student and measure them, everyone will have a blood pressure, and blood pressure is measurable. And then you can tell the average blood pressure this, the mean blood pressure this, and so on and so forth. Let me take another totally different variable, that is anatomy learning from basic medical sciences. Qualitative research could be students share reflections on their dissected experience. For example, their emotion, effective and challenging. The same about, we are talking about dissection, anatomy. In quantitative could be the number of correct answers in anatomy, which could be OSPE or written test. So therefore, they learned something by dissecting something which is done in anatomy, and a qualitative research is talking about their opinion and feeling, and quantitative is in number, how much they understood. It's just to tell you the differences between qualitative and quantitative research. Let me explain in a little more detail by taking one example of research method of a qualitative research and one method from a quantitative research. So, an example of methodology or method of qualitative research used in a study on effect of screen time on sleep duration in grade 6 students. Now, this is the example, common example which I am using in my different lessons. Research design, a qualitative descriptive approach was chosen to examine students' perception and lived experiences regarding screen use and its effect on their sleep. Please do not concentrate on technical words like descriptive approach, qualitative you know, because that I am going to describe you in future videos. Then participants, 30-year 6 students age 11 to 12 from local school selected through purposive sampling to induce a diverse range of screen use pattern. Again, do not concentrate on purposive sampling because I have not learned or taught you sampling. Data collection method, semi-structured interviews were carried out using an open-ended guide. Key questions included, tell me about your daily screen time after school. How does using a screen affect how you feel at bedtime? Now the answers to these is in form of sentences. These are the feelings, these are the emotions, these are the opinion. That is why it is a qualitative research. Tool used to get this data was interview guides, audio recording and observation notes. So data collection procedure was parental consent and student assent was secured. Interviews took place in a quiet schoolroom and each lasted 12 to 30 minutes. Interviews are recorded using audio and transcribed word for word. The data analysis was thematic analysis was employed. Transcripts were read several times. Initial codes were created. For example, in our case, it could be difficulty in sleeping after games. Codes were categorized into themes such as screen time as a reward, blue light and brain alertness, parental control and bedtime routines. Obviously, ethical considerations were considered. All these headings which are under methodology, we are going to discuss in detail in subsequent videos. Now, let's take the example of quantitative research and study same on effect on screen time on sleep duration in grade 6 students. Now, how to do that? Research design, correlation, cross-sectional, quantitative research design. Now, in that was observation was employed to investigate the relationship between screen time and sleep duration. Participants 30 years old, 6 students, same. From 3 urban school, simple random sampling was employed from a class test, tools and instruments, self-reported questionnaire consisting of closed-ended questions. And the question assessed were average screen time per day and average sleep duration per night in hours. So the answers from the questions from this was assessed. Data collection procedure, a pilot test structured questionnaires were distributed. Students completed the survey during school hours under supervision. Parental consent and student assets were made. Data analysis data were entered into SPSS. Descriptive statistics were used. Pearson correlation coefficient was computed, and then obviously we found out whether there is a correlation is there or not, and in our case it was a strong negative correlation because the Pearson correlation coefficient R was equal to minus 0.75 R, and obviously ethical considerations were taken. So in this video you must have understood by now and clear your concept about qualitative research, quantitative research. Qualitative research, non-numerical, quantitative research in numbers. That is how the data is collected, and it is done. Qualitative research, we are exploring the feelings, we are taking the opinions, we are taking their affective thing, how they feel like, and what is their opinion, what are their solution, or whatever it is in words or sentences. Whereas in quantitative, we are talking about numbers. In qualitative research, then themes comes out from what the participants have spoken to us. In quantitative, they're not themes, they're numbers. So therefore, in quantitative, what we go for is statistical review by using SPSS. There we can find a mean, median, average, and so on and so forth. The significance is there or not, which we are going to discuss later on, obviously. And in qualitative, we are going to, from these themes, we are going to drive the conclusions. I hope this video has helped you in learning. So the time is up now. Enjoy yourself, have a good cup of tea, and just relax and enjoy. There is no learning which is not relaxation. But I would advise you, because next time when you come, then you should relax, have a cup of tea or coffee with you, and don't just pause through the video, stop at different aspects, and then think what I have said, and then continue like that. As in this case, you could have paused the second slide and thought about what is IMRAD, thought about what are the headings in the research paper, and then proceeded further. Thank you very much. See you again, and have a good time. Bye-bye. May peace be upon you.